Let's go to this now. The High Court in Zimbabwe has barred former Zimbabwean Minister Saviour Kasukuwere from standing in next month's presidential election. A ZANU PF sympathiser had filed a case challenging a decision by the nomination court to approve his candidature. The SABC has learnt that Kasukuwere will take the matter for appeal at the Supreme Court or the Constitutional Court. Now, the former minister joins us live now, and he says, of course, despite this, he is going to be soldiering on this after the High Court in Zimbabwe barred him from contesting the presidential elections in the country scheduled next month. Let's now get into conversation with him. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. Let's start with your initial reaction, because I do understand that this matter is now likely to be in the courts.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Ronnie. This is a matter that we have since filed not a judgment, and we have also filed an appeal against the judgment by the High Court this morning actually.
And what is keeping you going? Why would you say that for you it is important to contest this decision and simply not put it to bed?
No. We have to fight all the way. It's game on. There's no going back. We will pursue every legal avenue and channel until the elections are held in a manner that is satisfactory to each and every one of us as Zimbabweans. We will not give in to these intimidatory tactics by Nangagwa, let alone all these attempts to try and bust. Why is he scared? Why would you stop another fellow Zimbabwean from contesting if you know that you have support? This is a democracy. We must put it to the strictest test and ensure that at the end of the day we have a result that reflects the popular will of our people. So no, he's not going to get away with it. Not a chance. We're not going to allow that to happen. So we will contest. I'm still on the ballot, and from tomorrow, once we have noted the appeal, and once they've noted it as well, that's it.
So I'm keen to find out then your thoughts on something before we get into, campaigning and how you then will be able to rally the troops in this regard. But the bone of contention here is that the commission which sat, and I'm borrowing from the papers, which sat as the nomination court on 21st of June 2023, acted in error when it accepted Kasukuwere's nomination paper for election to the office of the President of Zimbabwe in the election which shall be held on 23 August. He insists that Kasukuwere, whom he claims was out of Zimbabwe for more than 18 consecutive months, is, in terms of Section 23(3) of the Act, no longer a registered voter. He claims that as a person who ceased to be a registered voter, Kasukuwere cannot vote in the forthcoming election, and because he cannot vote, of course, that continues there. How do you react then to this? Because this is partly what they're building their cases against.
Well, this is why we are appealing, because we find it as wrong in our view that the High Court misdirected itself. First and foremostly, this is an electoral matter that should be attended to by the electoral courts, not by the High Court. So, first and foremostly, these guys went to the wrong court. But we still say, okay, we have noted your judgment, and we are appealing to the next level, which is the Supreme Court, because it should not even have been heard by the High Court of Zimbabwe. This is strictly an electoral issue. And you can't disenfranchise me as a Zimbabwean, first and foremostly, without having followed the due process, which is to go to my constituents to find out if I'm not there, who has checked whether I'm in Zimbabwe or not. I'm not a permanent resident of another country. I'm a Zimbabwean. That is my country. Now, this whole attempt, obviously, is because of fear. Emerson is scared. He knows I'll defeat him, and that's why he has to use all these tactics. I know that there is another appeal or another court case, which they've now filed in the electoral court. So they're basically forum shopping. They are going to each and every court. They will do this until we send him packing on the 23rd of August.
And clearly, campaigning is likely to be a mammoth task for you. And I wonder, how are you going to rally the troops now?
The troops are eager to move. There is a revolution going on. There's a cyclone underway. The people of Zimbabwe are tired of Emerson in these shenanigans. The corruption, the nepotism, tribalism. It's stinking. You can't run a country the way he's doing it and expect people to support you. Hence, he has to use all tactics, man of tactics, to try and stop this candidate. on a fair basis, if we're going to have an election with Emerson, we'll clean him in the morning, and he knows it. And that's why he's doing this, and our troops are excited on the ground. In fact, this court decision has given us a huge boost, because many people now can understand what the system is all about and what they're trying to do. You don't use courts in this manner. You don't interfere with the judiciary the way Mnangagwa is doing.
There's something else that is interesting, of course, is your visits to other African countries. Can you share with us why these particular visits?
Well, I've been visiting a number of regional capitals, obviously, to meet stakeholders, to meet business persons, to explain what we're trying to do. You see, Zimbabwe finds itself at the center of a conflict that has affected the entire region. And we need to also take those people into confidence in terms of what we intend to do. We need to resolve the Zimbabwean question. We need to have legitimacy. We need to cure the coup. We need Zimbabwe to be back on its feet in terms of economic recovery. And it is important for the region to understand what I am trying to do, what the country should be after the elections. And this is why I've been visiting various capitals, and as well to bring them to speed in terms of the violations that are being done, the intimidation, the abuse of institutions. And I do this. I'm doing this to the African capitals. I will be meeting the African leadership. I won't go beyond Africa. I will take my case to the region and discuss and ensure the people of the region understand what's happening in our country.
Were your former colleagues included in some of these consultations and interactions?
There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of work we're doing, because I think for a long time the situation in Zimbabwe has not been fully understood, and especially with regards to the moment the President Mugabe was removed in 2017, a lot of miscommunication was made and done, which has basically not been easy for the region to understand exactly what is happening. But we're happy now that people appreciate, they understand the tactics of Mnangagwa. He's a man who doesn't want anything that is open. He doesn't want any transparency. He's heading really a mafia gangster who thinks the country belongs to him and his family. And this is what we're challenging. We are saying to Mnangagwa, no, you can't do this. The country belongs to all Zimbabweans. It doesn't belong to a family, later on to the private company. And that is why we're taking our message into the region, because our people have been moved beyond the breaking point. We have people in South Africa, we have people in Mozambique, in fact, all these other countries. And it's a shame. We can't continue like that. Our people must be home, contributing to its development. But the instability, the illegality, the corruption, the tribalism that has become part and parcel of the Mnangagwa administration is too bad for anybody to live with. And hence, we've taken this position to challenge him. And he's scared. He has to run to the courts. He has to try and do everything to manipulate, but it won't serve you. 23 August, Mnangagwa will be unemployed.
What about some of those who say that they see you as all the same, part of the old guard, and saying that they don't see, some of the changes that you would be promising coming into effect, particularly for a country like this, because you've previously been in government? How do you respond?
Certainly, there's a world of difference between Saviour Kasukuwere and Emerson Mnangagwa. He's an elder who really should be in the retirement home. Thirdly, the ideas that we represent are clear. We need to build an all-inclusive government. We need to attend to our people. We need to bring about greater transparency and accountability to what we do in Zimbabwe. We need our country to come back into the Committee of Nations. We need Zimbabwe to restore her status in the region, to be a contributor, not to be a said or a basket case. And yes, I've been in government, and that is where I draw my experience from, my knowledge of what should be done and how we should resolve it. That is where I draw it from. But comparing to Mnangagwa, obviously, I'm streets ahead of him. He knows that very well. And look at the past 5 years, how shambolic the administration has become, how our people have moved from 11% poverty to 33%. And this is the last statistics. From 2017, it was 11%. Now we're talking about 33%. Corruption is basically on steroids, walking on steroids. We can't have that. So I am a different kettle of fish altogether.
In about, pardon me for coming in there, we're almost out of time. In about 20 seconds, what for you is the impact of the delay in appointing election observers? What impact is this likely to have on the ground?
Well, it's unfortunate because I think this election is so critical. We must have election agents, election monitors in the country. This election must allow Zimbabwe to reclaim her space. We need to get the sanctions off our back. We need to get Zimbabwe back into various bodies. The conduct of our elections is so critical and important. And we expect that the observers are allowed in the country quickly. Then they get to do what they have to do. They bring about that extra eye that will probably help us as we put our case forward.
All right,
it is clear.
All right, let me thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Saviour Kasukuwere, Zimbabwean politician, as well as a former minister, of course, commenting on the latest developments around his candidature that he's been barred from contesting, but of course saying that he is now launching an appeal. It's been launched, and let's see then what becomes the other installment of this.